The museum had staff who often would go to local area battlefields in this region, in the Washington, D.C. region, and they'd be working with surgeons with whatever particular unit was in the field at that time, and they would collect specimens. And it might be from a person who died of their injuries, or it might be an amputation or something of a person who survived their injuries. And that's an interesting problem. Can you study the person who survived their injuries and help understand the nature of that trauma, how they were treated, did they have subsequent infections or amputations, and then how can you package all of those lessons learned up and share them with other officers in the field? How to improve the care of the soldier during the war. Well, we're sitting at the National Museum of Health and Medicine. The museum started out as a Union Army medical museum during the Civil War, and it held on to that for a long time after the Civil War, too. But the medical and surgical history of the War of the Rebellion, called MESHUAR for short, is the collated understanding of the museum from its time during the war. And it has all of the individual case reports of every specimen and object that came into the museum. It also has the tabulated findings. So in that you see how many certain types of injuries, what types of infections, what types of surgical treatments were best suited for one injury or another. And so you have this incredible snapshot of 19th century military medicine, at least in America, contained in this 6-volume set. It is a Union Army medical museum during the Civil War, and the museum became home and the working place of the leading anatomists and surgeons in Washington during the first year or so of the Civil War. Many people who visit here are here to come see the bullet that killed Abraham Lincoln. It was shot by John Wilkes Booth from a .22 caliber Derringer pistol on the night of April 14th of 1865. Lincoln dies at about 7:20 the next morning, Saturday, April 15th, 1865, and an autopsy is performed almost immediately thereafter. It's actually done at the White House. And Army Medical Museum staff, people from this museum, our name has changed, but it's the same institution, actually helped perform that autopsy and collected the bullet from the president's brain. The bullet's very small, it's misshapen because of the fact that it was fired out of a gun and passed through the president's skull and into his brain. And it's been part of the museum's collection for many decades. One thing to remember about the museum is that for the better part of 150 years, it's been connected to teaching institutions of one form or another. And actually the Army Medical Museum, this museum in the 1890s helped found the Army Medical School and was the training ground for medical officers in the United States Army at the end of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century. And so try and put yourself in the need to teach skeletal development for normal human development without the aid of an iPad or a video or even a film strip. And how do you do that? Well, you have prepared anatomical specimens articulated to show the development of growth of skeletal bones, bone plates, joints, structure. And to do that, you might have a whole series showing from the early fetal stages through birth, and in the case of the set that's on display here at the museum, up through about age 5. So this is how you study bone and skeletal development at the end of the 19th century. For us today remains an opportunity for us to see what it looks like for a fetus in development or for a very young child, and see what that bone structure looks like. It's actually interesting and also to know very few people do that type of articulated preparation, as you'll see on display here, in the lab anymore. It's actually just not a form of study that you see. It's almost a lost art to prepare a skeleton in that way. So not only have we been around for 155 years, but we'd like to be around for another 155 years or more into the future.